Coffee stay black, just like me. Don't need no sugar, don't need no cream. What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Bartholomew Jones. If you don't know me, I'm a MC. I am an educator, and I'm a coffee connoisseur. Right now, we sipping on some Gucci Mane, which is our coffee. Started a social enterprise called Cxffeeblack. The whole goal of Cxffeeblack is to put the black history back in black coffee, you know what I mean? And yeah, fam, we really just want to make coffee black again. A week ago, we got a chance to go live with two of my favorite entrepreneurs, two of my favorite indie hip-hoppers, Propaganda and Derek Minor. If you don't know them, you should check it out. They also happen to be two black men who love Yahweh and two black men who are really, really into their coffee and know their stuff. And so we just talked about, we got a chance, they brewed our coffee and talked about the connection between black history and black coffee. So I put a little snippet in here.
Side note, man, I'm coming to the end of this cup and I'm tasting these extra notes, boy.
Boy,
you roasted this.
So paying that like across the board, you know what I mean?
Bro.
Like people getting into the space because people feel like I can't do that. But this is my thing, bro. Black people already have the business model that you need. You know how to source an illicit or semi-illicit item from another country and then cook it in your kit and weigh it out and cook it in your kitchen and then serve it to people who need it to function. So I'm like, this is how it works on the other side of the pot. It's not no giant roaster.
You know what I mean? I think, man, with the product that you have, bro, the next scenario come through, I think you got to revisit that again, brody.
Oh, that's the plan, man.
You got to. Maybe there's some synergy with Cxffeeblack or something, but you got to revisit that again, bro.
But yeah, so if you just saw that, like, it was super dope. You can see the whole thing on Propaganda's page. It was dope. In that whole process, we met a whole lot of new people. Good to meet you all. Hello. Actually, right now you can get 10% off of our coffee using the code PROPER. Shout out to Prop. And that 15% of the sales from that also go to help them because he's an indie musician. And if you're watching this in the future, this thing called COVID-19 has really hurt a lot of entrepreneurs and indie musicians. And so we're really happy to help support them through our coffee sales. And they're helping us meet you guys, which I think is dope. So go check it out if you want to. You know what I mean? Check it out. Check out our coffee. Check out our apparel. Check out the music, all of that. But in the process of doing that, people started asking us questions. And we're like, yo, where can we learn more about the intersections of black coffee and black culture? And so in light of that, I wanted to basically talk to you all about a concept that we have or an idea we have around black coffee and black culture. And that is that black coffee has the potential to be the most important business for building generational wealth across the diaspora. So what do I mean by that? There's a lot of big words, right? What I mean is in 1616 and earlier, black people were taken from Africa and placed all around the world. And even in the continent of Africa, all the way across the rest of the world, if you look at where black people are, most of the places that they are, it's kind of broke. That's wrong. It's not right. You know what I mean? People are on the lower ends of society. And we are of the belief that sitting around and waiting on somebody to help, you know what I mean? I did my fair share of activism in college and protesting.
Can't stop the revolution. You can't stop the revolution. You can't stop the revolution. You can't stop the revolution. We don't get no justice because they don't know no justice. We don't get no peace because they don't know no peace. We don't get no justice because they don't know no justice. We don't get no peace. We don't get no peace.
That, you know what I mean? But I remember I was at a protest. A young black man got killed in Memphis. His name was Darius Stewart. And I brought my wife, who was pregnant with my first child. His name is Maurice, the third. And yeah, we were there. And I remember somebody tried to go out in the street and get lit with the protest. And I was like, my wife can't go out there because if somebody, I don't even want to say the words, you know what I mean? But you can imagine the scene, right? And so I'm like, my wife can't be here right now, and I'm not going to leave my wife at home while she's pregnant to go protest. And so I started to try to find different ways to try to do what I thought needed to be done. And so that led me to education. And I taught in the hood for 7 years. But the more I taught my students, we started doing hip hop clubs. Kids love doing the music. but the entrepreneurial opportunities that we had, I remember one time my kids had the opportunity to apply for a scholarship. And I just wanted to grab them during lunch to apply. You can actually see the freestyle. If you go to our Instagram, it's like the first IG live, or not IG TV video we posted. I just wanted to pull them to apply for this scholarship in the 8th grade during lunchtime. And it took me 2 weeks to get permission from my school to be able to do this for 8th graders who wanted to sit down and fill out a scholarship in the 8th grade. It's crazy. And so we eventually got to do it, and the kids kicked a freestyle over the Middle Child beat by J. Cole. It was dope. You should go check it out. I'll put a little snippet in here too. All right, so we just finished applying or working on our first phase of the application for the Unapologetic Youth Scholarship. Just want to ask students how y'all feeling.
I feel good.
All right, off the dome. Talk about it.
Yo, I feel real good. You should understood. Coming fresh out the wood. Yo, you know we all good.
Good.
Yeah. Got the drip in the hood. Yo, I don't really care. Know what I mean? Yo, you coming out of the struggle. Yo, you coming out of the struggle. Freestyle off the dome. Ain't nothing wrong. You coming out of the struggle.
Move with it. Move with it. See my diamonds get the dancing with a move with it.
Yo.
13 in the hood. I can't lose with it.
Yo.
Skinny boy, I don't like my clothes loose fitted.
Yeah.
So I'm editing this, and I realized I didn't put my students' names. So check out the Baby Genesis. Check out what these boys change. I'm gonna put my students' tags in the comments, so go follow them on social media. They're still putting out music. A couple of them are, and they're super dope. So support them. But it was so frustrating, and it was at that point that I realized, what I want to do is not gonna work in a traditional education setting. And shout out to traditional education, but it wasn't gonna work for what God was calling me to do, for what Yahweh was calling me to do in my community. And so I knew I wanted to have a space where my students actually had the potential to grow. And so eventually my goal is to be able to hire my students and employ my students, and for them to be able to get ownership percentages or commissions off of the things they create and sell, and then for Coffee Black to be a launching pad for their entrepreneurship. But we're not there yet. We're just talking about coffee. You know what I mean? So anyway, back to the whole propaganda thing. We're talking about coffee. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about Black history. And a lot of people may not know. I'm going to just read the back of our bag. A big part of the history is actually on our bag. So it says, Ethiopian coffee is a gateway drug. The coffee plant was stolen from Africa in 1616 by 2 Dutch spies. I'm going to break that down. Why did it have to be stolen? It's because Africa had a monopoly on it. It was discovered in Ethiopia. Coffee is a seed of an African fruit. Here we go. This is really hard to grab. All right, here we go. Coffee is the seed of an African fruit. Because it's the seed of an African fruit, if you were to take that seed and instead of roasting it to turn it brown like this one is, or like most of the ones that we have are, and you just planted it, it would grow another plant. It would grow more fruit. That's the way God created it. However, that would be a bad business decision for people who discovered this really profitable plant. Right now, coffee is the most profitable business in the world. It's the most profitable good in the world, except for oil. That's crazy to think about that, right? Something that's not needed for life. I mean, depends on how much you drink, but it's not necessary. You can live without coffee. You really can't live in a world that's automated without oil. So it's crazy that, it's right after oil. So it's like a $10 billion industry, it's like $100 billion industry. Now, so back in 1616, when coffee was stolen, of course, the potential for growth, it should go to the people who discovered it, right? The people who created the culture, who really broke down, did most of the work, right? They own that thing. But like most things in history, someone else wanted to make profit off of that, and so it was stolen from the country of Yemen, which is right across the Red Sea from Ethiopia. The coffee seed was stolen by 2 Dutch spies. Why did they want to steal it? They wanted to steal it because they wanted to use it to make money. And so over the years, the coffee plant became a cash crop that was planted alongside, just like tobacco, just like sugarcane, just like cotton, just like corn. It was planted all over the world and used to be sold. And the people who picked it were either African slaves who were stolen 3 years later, at least the ones in America were, or indigenous people, some of whom were also black, some of whom weren't. But the point is, it's wrong. Slavery's wrong, period, straight up and down. They were forced to grow or pick these crops, right, by these colonial powers. And so that's just the top of it, right? We're going to break down the rest. This is our big Gucci bag, by the way. It's like a 5-pound bag. We did the math. It's like 34 days. It's 34 days of coffee if you're drinking 20 gram pour overs a day. This is ridiculous. That's on the website too. So 3 years later, the first stolen, I'm going to start from the top. The coffee plant was stolen from Africa in 1616 by 2 Dutch spies. 3 years later, the first stolen bodies, black bodies, landed in Jamestown, Virginia. Now, when that happens, guess who is effectively cut off from any potential profit they could create from this good that eventually grows to be the second biggest export in the world? All those black people. So now, 2020, we're finding our liberation as a people, right? I say finding it because we ain't there yet. We're finding it, and now we're liberating our birthright, right? Now it's time to go back in our heritage and say, what are the things we as people from the continent of Africa have created, and how can we begin to participate in the ownership and the wealth generated from these things? This coffee is diaspora history. What does that mean is diaspora history? It was stolen. It's black. It gets burned. And a lot of times people prefer it burned. I don't. I prefer my coffee light roasted, but it ain't even like, it's not even a preference thing because my pops is with the dark roast. My dad kind of introduced me to coffee, to Kenyan coffee. But the point is that just like black people, coffee is also burned, right? Coffee has to go through this fiery process, and so have black people, but we can stand it by the grace of God. And a lot of times it even makes us better. And people want to change us by adding sugar and cream. That's the whole concept. If you check out our album on Spotify, like the whole concept when we're like, coffee stay black just like me. Coffee stay black just like me. Don't need no sugar, don't need no cream. Coffee stay black just like me. Don't need no sugar, don't need no cream. Coffee stay black just like me. Black like me, yeah. That whole concept is saying, man, like, we are similar in this process. This thing that was stolen from the continent just like us. This thing was burned just like us. But just like us, it does not need to be added to be good or be loved or be valuable. And the same is true for us. God has created us with worth. Shout out to my neighbor's dog. So this coffee is diaspora history, and it, like us, was created to be taken black. No sugar, no cream, the way God intended. This is not about diminishing your preference. I almost didn't put this line on the bag because I didn't even want to acknowledge the perspective or the idea that like this could, because I'm like, if the back of this bag make you mad, this coffee not for you, go drink Folgers or what. There's a million other third wave coffee roasters you could go enjoy, or coffee companies you could go support. But this coffee is specifically for people who are about the process of liberating ourselves from the sugar and cream that the world tells us. All of us, regardless of what country you're from, we all have an origin. That origin is God-given. Those notes are from the Lord, from Yahweh, and people want to cover those notes up with sugar and cream, and we believe that God has sent his son, Yeshua, to free us from those things. And so we are about that freedom and that liberation process. And this coffee is the coffee you drink as you go about that day, as you start that day. So this is not about diminishing your preference. Once again, if you mad, put it in the comments. I mean, I take the hate, but I'm just saying this is not about that. This is about reclaiming our destiny. And if each of us is pursuing our destiny, then doesn't that mean we'll be able to help each other on the way? If my destiny is to become the owner of a successful coffee company and to empower my community and the communities that I'm cousins with across the ocean, then I'm going to need other people who are pursuing their destiny that is a different destiny than mine along the way. I'm gonna need printers. I'm gonna need people who are excellent coffee roasters, because I brew the coffee, I cup the coffee. I'm learning to roast the coffee. Our roaster's name is Kenny Baker. He's super dope, and Kenny's white. Shout out to Kenny. We want to have Kenny on here too to talk about like Why is he a part of a black-owned coffee company? But we, as each of us pursue our destiny, if we're obedient to the notes in our origin and we brew better, thing we say is if you brew better, then you're gonna do better, right? And so that process then means we're all interconnected, and each of us needs the specificity of each other in order to fulfill our collective destiny as creations of Yahweh. So back to 1616 coffee stolen, right? Coffee becomes this huge industry. And just like coffee is planted all around the world in Central and South America, in Asia, in India, which is also in Asia, coffee is also planted in countries in Africa, in Burundi, and in Rwanda, and it's moved to Kenya, and it's moved to all these other places by colonizing powers. But they're not growing the coffee. It's still black and brown people growing the coffee. But they're not making even 10% of the profit that industry has. So the people who discovered the coffee are not making the majority of that money. The people who are growing it around the world aren't making the majority of that money. And the black people in the neighborhoods that these coffee shops that are buying this coffee are moving into are not making any of that money. They're not even really allowed to come in the shop because so many shops don't even have the infrastructure to support the black people in their neighborhoods, let alone to be hospitable to them or to serve them, right? We believe that not only is it our moral obligation, but it's a financial obligation. Like, you know how much money y'all missing out on by not serving black people in a black neighborhood with a black product? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, you folks would rather market to somebody who lives 40 minutes away than serve somebody who would come there and bring their cousins and aunties and uncles and give you the Popeye's chicken effect. Anyway, don't forget about them though. That's what we do when we doing this for us, right? So, and for all of us who are about us. So yeah, what we really want to do is we feel like, I said this on our Instagram today. Let me pull it up actually. Go follow us on Instagram, Coffee Black, Cxffeeblack. Black. X like Malcolm X, no O. You know what I mean? We back to diving into that missing origin. We're back to diving into that missing origin, that missing heritage. And so the X is there because it's the variable that is going to be replaced with the good that the Creator has given when we dial into it. So anyway, we had some coffee come in from the homies at Trestel Coffee. They're Eritrean, brother named Jonathan and his dad Johan, black family creating generational wealth. So we're like, man, it would be, what better way? Like, our dream is to be able to dive into and do our business with black families to help support black families. Like, that's crazy. And then we're doing it for profit. It's not nonprofit. This ain't no nonprofit business. This is for profit. I was in nonprofit for like 10 years. And I saw that all the nonprofits didn't make no profit. And then all the people who went through those nonprofits that they helped, they didn't make no profit either. And now they still broke. So we're about teaching and empowering people and helping people to get ownership over things, which means profit. So anyway, we got the samples in. He sent us a Yirgacheffe and a Sadamo from them because we want to, if you're a black farmer or you represent a black collective and y'all have coffee, we want to cup your coffee. We want to sell your coffee. So anyway, I wrote, we really believe coffee can be the key to creating generational wealth and empowerment across the diaspora. We really believe that coffee is the second most profitable, it's second biggest industry, $100 billion, right after oil. And we're making less than 10%. The black people growing it and the black people being gentrified when the shops that purchase the coffee that's grown pay very little for it from the importer who paid even less from it for it coming to the shop and coming to the neighborhood and call the police on you, right? Like, neither one of those sides of the diaspora is making any money, right? Even though this thing was discovered by black people. So on the site, I wrote an article. I'm not going to read the whole article to you because you can go there and read it. But the point is, I just want to read one particular line And that line was, sourcing, highlighting, and elevating our coffee black is more than a measure of goodwill. It's more than the assuaging of some guilt of a 400-year-old grand larceny, which is what it was, Grand Theft Auto, right? Like, this is one of the biggest swindles in history. It is a quintessential step in stabilizing the economic disaster left by colonial white supremacy and the mobilization of one of our planet's most productive and under-resourced populations. I'm from Memphis, man. Like, do you know the homie I Make Mad Beats over at Unapologetic talks about this all the time? The biggest genre, they just did this. They just did this report last year. The biggest genre in the world is trap. At the time, the biggest song from the biggest artist was a trap song, and his name was Drake, and I believe the song was Nonstop. It's a Memphis track. It's from the track My Head Is Spinning by DJ Squeaky and Mac Daddy Jew, right? Back in the day, it's the track people would juke to. You know what I mean? If you don't know what juking is, gangster walking, whatever, however you want to say it, like, it's the track people would buck to. And that song was the biggest song for the biggest genre for the biggest artist in the world, and yet the people who created that in Memphis a lot of times don't have the opportunity to participate in it. We're not compensated for our participation in that. Or the people around us try to tell us that we should be ashamed of what we've created and only want to highlight the ancient versions of that, like rhythm and blues. Or I love stacks, I love blues music, but like they're all the same thing. They're all a part of the same continuity. And why wouldn't you recognize the version of that why wouldn't you recognize stack music's child or their grandchild, soul music's, blues music's, rock and roll music's grandchild that's currently the biggest genre in the world? Why wouldn't you do that? It's crazy, right? So the same way that happens to us over here, it happens over there. It happens across the ocean. It happens to black people all over the world. And yet when we create these things, they make everybody else money, but we get left behind and just get the you know, the citation at the bottom of somebody's obscure paper. You know what I mean? Like, but we don't get a chance to pass that wealth on, that knowledge on, that culture on to our children. And so that's what we're about at Cxffeeblack. So yeah, let me know, what kind of coffee are you guys drinking right now? Like I said, this is a Sadamo from us. Let me know if you guys, what you think about all of that history. Like, what do you think about the connection between black culture, black history, and black coffee? And if you disagree with anything, let me know. Let me know too. Like I told you, I'm an educator and I believe in co-generative dialogues. Like I believe in what Paulo Freire wrote about and what Chris Emdin is using now as well. But I believe in critical pedagogy, and I think we learn as a community. I don't think it's a top-down step 1, step 2, step 3 thing. That's why when we make coffee, we do these things called brew ups in the community. It's like a monthly coffee cipher where we pass the mic and pass the brew. You know what I mean? And create coffee, talk about coffee, create music, dialogue about how those things can impact our community and be used to empower our community. I don't tell anybody the right way to make a pour over, even though we have pour over instructional videos on our YouTube and website, like, because the way I'm making it was the way I was taught from coffee shops in America. But if you go to Eritrea or Ethiopia or Yemen, like, coffee is not brewed that way. If you go to Kenya or Colombia or anywhere around the world, coffee is brewed a million different ways. If you go to Turkey, if you go to Egypt, it's brewed in so many different ways. And they're all good if you get them from those people. Like, you can't deny the dopeness of their brew. So now you can't just say this is the right way. This is a way. And we can learn together by brewing together. So yeah, fam, like, subscribe, share this with somebody who you think this information might be new to or helpful to. And check out the Gucci Mane coffee right now, like on Cxffeeblack.com, Cxffeeblack, Cxffeeblack.com. We have a deal right now where you can get 10% off. Shout out to Propaganda. 15% of our sales when you use the code PROPER. Go to support Propaganda and help him, you know, recoup some of the losses that he had from the whole Corona situation. And also, you get 10% off, which is dope. And anyway, you can also get a shirt and coffee, or a hoodie and coffee for $5 off. So we got bundles on the site. It's a lot of stuff on the site. Honestly, the site is dope. Like, y'all don't sleep on the site. It's stuff I haven't even talked to people about that's on there that's just so, it's just money. It's money waiting on you to get, you know what I mean, stuff on how to get your business and how to help it grow. Anyway, that's not the point. Love y'all. Keep your coffee black. and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Coffee stay black just like me. Don't need no sugar, don't need no cream. Coffee stay black just like me. Black like me, 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 black like me.